got them all put in finally, huh? Okay, this time we're going to call to order the meeting of February 3rd, 2020. Before we go to closed session, City Attorney, do you have anything you want to report on?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say that if the council so moves, the City Council will adjourn to closed session to discuss those closed session items as agendized. That would be number one, conference of the legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A, existing litigation, Building Industry Association versus City of Hollister, San Benito Superior Court case number 19-00028. Item number two, conference with real property negotiator, per Government Code Section 54956.8, negotiator, city manager, McCrae Street, located between Park Street and Tres Pinos Road in the city of Hollister. And finally, item number three, conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A, existing litigation, Foster versus City of Hollister, San Benito County Superior Court case number CU 19-00022. Excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any speaker cards on any of these items?
There are no speakers.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, at this time, we're going to resume the meeting of February 3rd, 2020. Councilmember Lenore, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Resendez,
Present.
Vice Mayor Richmond, Mayor Velasquez,
Here.
Councilmember Spencer,
Here.
Councilmember Lenore, Interim City Manager Miller,
Here.
City Attorney Epperson,
Here.
Interim Police Chief Reynoso.
Here.
The amended agenda for the City of Hollister City Council regular meeting of February 3rd, 2020 was posted on the bulletin board on January 31st, 2020 at 3 p.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you. City Attorney, do you want to report out from closed session?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report out of closed session is the city council discussed in closed session those items agendized for closed session as I read into the record before moving into closed session, and direction was given to staff and negotiators. The city council adjourned from closed session at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move to the election of the vice mayor. Last year it was District 4, so this year would be District 1. Councilman Lenore, I'd like to nominate you for the vice mayor for 2020. That will work for you?
I'm going to decline that nomination.
You're going to decline the nomination for, oh, okay. So I have a feeling we're going to go back to what happened last year, so I'm going to let the council tell me what they're planning on doing so we can just get this thing done.
Well, that's what the agenda says, that it's the decision of the whole council.
Yeah, that's fine. So if you guys already have a plan, please, let's go. So we don't waste time and get this thing done.
I'd like to nominate Councilmember Honor Spencer for Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, so there's, Councilmember Spencer's been nominated. So is there a consensus?
Yes.
Yes?
Aye.
Okay. So you'll be the vice mayor for 2020. And we're gonna. Okay, so council member get to be sworn in.
Was it consensus?
It's a consensus, yeah. So are you gonna be, you gonna do the swearing in? We do it now so we can get her sworn in as.
Okay, I'll be right back.
How many ideas went through your mind right now about making this thing a little bit more exciting to be at?
Sir,
What went through my mind right now? Like, how
sir, please, don't interrupt the meeting. We've had this conversation so many times.
I'm gonna be mayor. I have a production. I'm sorry.
Alright, so raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Honor Spencer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will
and that I will
well and faithfully
well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move forward with the consent agenda. Are there any items council would like to pull? Is there any items from the public?
Not on consent, no.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I move that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Approved.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I thought you were trying to tell me something.
No.
Okay. Okay, public input. This is the time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speaker cards are available in the lobby and are to be completed and given to the city clerk before speaking. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes. First, we have Tim Burns.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Tim Burns. I reside in Council District Number 4. I have worked for 40-plus years in some form of a municipal or county government, typically in code enforcement and/or public safety. During that time, I have either worked directly for or indirectly for several city councils. All councils face their challenges and have opportunities. I'm here tonight to request that council create and adopt a municipal code ordinance to address our elected and appointed officials' ethics and conduct. In researching existing ordinances from other jurisdictions, I located a code of ethics and conduct for elected and appointed officials from the city of Belmont, California. I've asked the clerk to provide you with copies, and I believe you have those before you. The city of Belmont is a general law city, as like the city of Hollister. Adopting such an ordinance could be as simple as simply removing the name Belmont and inserting the name Hollister in the ordinance. However, I would assume that you would like to put your thumbprint on it and look a little bit at it. It's fairly comprehensive, as you'll see, as you have time to review it at another time. Two of you have expressed an interest in not running for election or re-election, and I would suggest that this may be an opportunity for you to create part of your legacy by moving an ordinance like this forward that would not only impact the conduct of this council, but conduct for councils for years to come. Members in the community have overwhelmingly expressed their desire for this council to move beyond their differences. Adopting an ordinance to regulate this council and future councils' behavior could be a positive next step to turn the page in the council's outcomes and accomplishments moving forward. I want to read one selection from the code, and it simply states the professional personal conduct of members while exercising their office must be beyond reproach and avoid even appearance of impropriety. Members shall refrain from abusive conduct, personal charges, and verbal attacks upon the character or motives of other members of council, boards, committees, commissions, staff, or public. Consequences for habitual violators include reprimand, formal censure, loss of seniority or committee assignments, or other privileges afforded to council, or other sanctions deemed appropriate by council. You might even consider in establishing an ethics commission where consequences for violations could even be stronger where necessary. Either way, there is no need to reinvent the wheel. You have a copy of a working ordinance that has been in existence for several years and been updated as referenced on the ordinance I gave you as well. Please move forward to create and implement such an ordinance. If you need assistance, I'm willing to assist.
Thank you.
You for your time, council. I appreciate it greatly.
Thank you, Tim.
Michaela Wenslick.
Hello, council members. My name is Michaela Winslick, and I am a member of Sunny Slope 4-H. 4-H is an interactive, fun, educational youth program for kids ages 9 to 19, and the 4-H Clover Bud program includes kids ages 5 to 9. We learn life skills through 4-H projects and activities to help us become responsible leaders and giving back to the community. There are many different projects to be involved in 4-H, such as livestock like beef, goats, and swine, and others like leadership, community service, public speaking, arts and crafts, vet science, cooking, CPR and first aid, outdoor adventure, and more. However, the 4-H program is in trouble. The governor budget for UCANR has a $5 million shortfall in funding across the state, affecting our local 4-H program. As a result, we are short in funding for our 4-H program representative, Julie Katowitz. If we don't have a 4-H program representative, 4-H will be forced to dissolve. Even though San Benito County has an endowment fund that is reserved for 4-H youth only, we are working on raising funds to keep our program representative and hopefully allow her to work full-time due to San Benito County's growth. We are spreading the word about 4-H to gain partnerships and donations to keep our 4-H program alive for many generations to come. Many of you might have been 4-H members, and you may have your kids, grandkids, or friends' kids in 4-H now. And all the members and all of the youth and families in our community will be benefiting from this amazing 4-H program. Also, our 4-H program is hosting our Pancake Breakfast fundraiser on March 8th to benefit our community with a long tradition of over 3 decades. Along with 4-H enrollment fees, this is our only other fundraiser that helps to fund our 4-H clubs and our 4-H program representative's position. For as little as $10, our breakfast includes pancakes, sausage, eggs, potatoes, fruit, coffee, and orange juice, and to top your pancakes, Hollister's yummy apricot syrup. This is an opportunity for our 4-H youth to shine and show the community how all of our 4-H kids participate by serving you food and drink, bussing the tables, and setting up and breaking down. If you would like to offer your support to 4-H, you can purchase tickets from any 4-Her you know or contact me for tickets. In 4-H, every year, county ambassadors, also called All-Stars, complete a community service project the year of application that benefits our community, as well as planning and executing many events and presentations at county and state levels. My 4-H All-Star County Ambassador project for my application year will be a Kindness Rocks project. I'm hosting rock painting parties with the community, and I'm also hosting a booth for Kindness Rock Painting at the YMCA Healthy Kids Day on April 18th. I will have a booth for the community to participate in painting the rocks with colorful drawings and inspiring messages. And after the event, I will leave the rocks around at local businesses, parks, and frequently traveled areas to spread some kindness in our community. I so appreciate the businesses in our community who have donated to and supported my 4-H All-Star project. I hope you will support 4-H, our Pancake Breakfast, my All-Star County Ambassador project to keep 4-H strong for many generations and to come. Thank you so much for having me. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Perfect timing. Look at you. Good job.
Jason Noble.
Ms. Winslet is a tough act to follow. My print is a lot bigger, so it'll go fast. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I represent the principals for 90 Fallon Road, Hollister, approximately 4.27 acres of vacant industrial zone land located at the corner of Fallon Road and Technology Parkway. Currently, the City of Hollister has a zoning overlay in place which prohibits mini storages within 500 feet of San Felipe Road. My clients are requesting the City of Hollister consider an amendment to this policy or an exemption due to the following. The land's front on Fallon Road. There's a buffer of mature landscaping, including 2 rows of trees on opposite sides of Technology Parkway, 2 directional streets, and a landscape median, and a screen-type fence before the property boundary. Thank you for your consideration on this matter.
Thank you.
Zavon Quesada.
If I had a horn, I'd blow it right now. Because that's how important I am.
Mr. Zavon.
I just want to say something, man.
No, we're not going to go through this. We go through this every time.
You should give me more than
Savon,
Clara, you should say, hey, I own the farm,
please,
I have investors,
sir,
you can talk to investors
we
firsthand.
need you
I
to
promise
help
as
us
mayor,
here.
I will do things like that, because you are absolutely brilliant.
Zavon?
And you can talk to an investor and actually pitch him an idea, because you are awesome. I
Savon,
wanna tell you, thank you for
do you
inspiring
have
me.
something?
My name is Zavon, and I'm the future mayor, that's for sure. And I say that with confidence. And I say that with the drive, because I will be sitting there. I'm not sitting in that one, and more like the creative director. Because mayor, first of all, let me just say something. Everyone that comes up here, I commend you.
Zavon,
I do. I commend you for
cannot-
coming out here and just being who you are, you know? Because there's a couple other things. What
Zavon,
happened?
hang on for a second. We appreciate you come up here to speak, but you can't.
Kmart needs to be a recreation center called Mamba.
Okay,
For what, you know,
Let's talk
Kobe
about-
Bryant right now, he shared a legacy of helping the youth. If you go inside Kmart and see how big that is, and you buy that property next to it and put basketball courts, our community will get through this little bit. But if we don't and we put a Walmart there, how are you gonna have three Safeway, Nob Hill, grocery outlet? Like, give some space to breathe, to actually get some profits. How are you gonna bring a Walmart here when we need a community center like now? Not to mention a library. We will have, I promise, when I'm mayor, we will have a library, a prestige one. Mayor, I don't know where you've been. Neither do I, because man, look at our city. It's almost sad. It's not sad because our youth, robotics team, I just, remember that so much. You won that competition. Robotics is the future, mayor. And you couldn't even take them out to pizza or something, or say, hey, I match you that 5. I promise as mayor, check this out. I promise as mayor, and I believe as mayor, I will
Devon,
change the city around like the mayor of Salinas is doing to Salinas right now. I will,
Devon, you
because I believe in
cannot-
my community. Take me
Devon,
as you want, but you'll be
Devon,
seeing me around the community
you
more.
cannot electioneer here at the city
Mayor, check this out.
hall.
I got 3 minutes to speak
It's
the way
just-
whatever I want
no,
about,
you-
right?
you
Doesn't
can't-
have to be
no.
on the agenda. The agenda is a joke. Come on, we're meeting
Devon.
every 2 weeks to meet that. When we go to city council meetings, when I'm mayor, they're gonna be interactive. They're gonna be in a way where we're sharing ideas with each other to help prevent things happening. We're not talking about preventing or nothing. We're talking about issues of what's happening.
Zavon,
Like,
Zavon,
I paint
please.
every day on the streets, right? I see the youth do more beer runs ever before. And what else are they supposed to do but meet at McDonald's and Burger King playgrounds for their
Fine.
friends to come? Come on, we need a community
have
center
these
like now.
conversations
We
over and
turn that Kmart there into a Mamba center and start the trend that's gonna sweep the nation. Remember, Kobe Bryant, bless his soul for sharing what we're gonna bring we're gonna take it with it, because you know why? We are here and we're a community of champions. I walk and I see our youth starting yoga, the robotics team, it's here. How are we accommodating them? We're at the core of our city. We are building a great city, is the moves we're making to take it there. You don't believe the things I'm saying? Look at Salinas and the mayor there. When he speaks about Salinas, he's passionate. He's just built the mural, redid the Steinbeck Center. Then he brought in to one of the biggest skate parks in the nation. He's on fire. Salinas gets a nightlife that they can have.
Thank you very much, Zavon.
Monterey better hold on. But
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Savon. Thank you. Just, and just, Savon, just so you know, before you leave, I just want to let you know, I happened to be at that robotics competition when they won. And I have, my son happens to be on the robotics team, so thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Again, Zavon, we asked you to come here and speak, not to come here and electioneer.
Virginia Hernandez.
My name is Virginia Hernandez. I'm a community volunteer, and I want to talk about general consultants. I want to thank city staff for the work on this item. This is a very long process that will cost us a lot of money. I prefer more public involvement on the selection of the general plan consultant. A public process will allow you.
Oh, I'm sorry, are you talking about, this is an item on the agenda tonight, so we can't be discussing it. You can discuss it when the item comes up.
Oh, when she called me now, so I thought it was
Okay.
my time, because this guy.
So you just
the
gotta
let's-
identify that conversation in the,
Which item is
item 2?
F2.
it?
F2.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll be back.
no problem.
There are no more speakers.
Okay, we're gonna move to D1, City Manager's Report. We do have another.
We did get one more general
Okay.
public. It's Elia Salinas. No, that's for F2. Sorry. Oh, okay. Thanks. No more speakers.
Thank you.
Nothing to report?
Okay. Training conferences, D2.
That's for everybody or? Oh,
Yeah.
staff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yellow paint everywhere here. Good evening, council members. Paul Da Silva, City IT Director. I just want to report that along with the city clerk's office and a few other staff members, myself and Eric Estrada from IT, we spent 3 days over at the county with emergency operations, learning about emergency operations and having that discussion with Cal OES, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
I would like to report that myself and another staff member attended the California Society of Municipal Finance Officers annual conference, and my department heads will be glad to know that I brought some good stuff back to talk to them tomorrow about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it? Who? Did you have one?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, last month we had one of our sergeants, Matt Weiss, attended the Sherman Block SLI training. It's session number 3. It's a law enforcement leadership institute. Our detective Thomas Torres attended the sexual assault course put on by Post. Officer Stacy Esqueda attended the radar LiDAR certification course, so she's going to be certified now to enforce with radar. Our other detective, Aurelio Malgoza, got to be trained under the sexual offender registry. Actually, both of them did, with the new SB 384 requirement for changes that have been made for that law. And our record supervisor, Valerie Reyna, myself, and Lieutenant Olson attended the LCW Public Sector Employment Law Conference in San Francisco. And Officer Pompa also received certification for LiDAR and radar. That's it for January.
Thank you.
Question, what's LiDAR, is that laser?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that it? Okay, now we're going to go to F1.
Good evening, Council. I just wanted to check in and see if you had any questions regarding the item specifically or anything else that I can help with.
Any questions from council? Do we have any speaker cards?
There are no speakers.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2020-16, authorizing the submittal of an application to the California Department of Housing and Community Development for funding under SB2 Planning Grants Program.
Okay, so the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion
Thank you.
carries. Going to move to item F2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the City Council, good evening. Abraham Prado, Planning Manager with the Development Services Department. The item before you this evening is a consideration for the adoption of a resolution to award a contract to PlaceWorks, Inc. by approving the professional services agreement by and between the City of Hollister and PlaceWorks for the preparation of a general plan update and for the preparation of the corresponding environmental impact report pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, and in doing so, approve a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $700,000. The City of Hollister is the lead agency for the general plan update. PlaceWorks, Inc. would serve as a consultant to the lead agency, and they will ensure that the preparation of the general plan and the EIR are prepared in accordance with state law while incorporating the vision of the community as well as goals, policies, and implementation measures. As you know, the current City of Hollister's general plan was adopted in 2005 and is to be in effect until the end of 2023. On November 5th, 2019, the city received 3 proposals for the general plan update. All 3 firms were invited for interviews. The interviews took place on December 10th, 2019, and PlaceWorks Inc. was selected as the preferred consultant. PlaceWorks serves both public and private sector clients throughout the state of California and has the distinction of having prepared more than 100 general plans for communities throughout California, including the Morgan Hill General Plan Update, which was unanimously approved by the City Council in July of 2016, and is currently working on the Los Baños General Plan Update, which is anticipated to be completed by May of this year. 18 of the general plans prepared by PlaceWorks have won awards at the local and state level from the American Planning Association. The principal in charge of the update of the general plan from PlaceWorks is Mr. David Early. Mr. Early has a master's degree in both architecture and city planning and is a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, AICP, and a member of the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design LEAD. Mr. Early is renowned throughout California as an expert on smart growth and sustainable development with works in the fields of comprehensive planning, plan implementation, public participation, urban design, transportation, and environmental review. His work spans diverse fields such as downtown revitalization, transit-oriented development, bicycle planning, greenhouse gas reduction, and agricultural preservation. Mr. Early is an expert facilitator, and he has helped numerous groups achieve consensus on difficult development and conservation issues. Mr. Early has extensive knowledge of general plans, having worked on over 50 general plans throughout the state of California, and also is the author of the General Plan in California, which was published by Solano Press Books in 2015, which is a detailed guide to preparing and updating a city or county's general plan in accordance with California law and reflective of the communities they serve. Mr. Early also teaches a class on general plan preparation at the University of California, Davis Extension. Mr. Early will have a core team of assistants and experts at PlaceWorks that will help with the preparation of the general plan update. He has submitted a few slides as part of your packet, and without further ado, if it's okay with the council, we will have Mr. Early come up and present to you the slides that were provided into your packets. Mr. Early?
Thank you, Abraham. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. My name again is David Early, and I am a founding principal at PlaceWorks. We've been working throughout California, as Abraham said, for over 20 years and doing a large number of general plan updates. I am going to run through the slides that we have for you, I hope. I have a little clicker here. It may or may not work.
Pointed this way.
It has to be on. That's a good thing. There we go. Look at that. All right. So I want to start by talking about what we understand to be your goals and the community goals. And I know that community involvement, community participation are very important here. I want to underscore from the outset our commitment to involving the community throughout this process. And of course, we'll be talking with you and the community members about your goals, but our preliminary understanding is first that the city of Hollister really does value its agricultural character, its small town character, the center of the San Benito County agricultural region, and that character, even in the face of other changes, needs to be preserved. That means that we need to manage growth to be consistent with our overall goals. I know that growth has been a very big issue here, and we need to continue that through the general plan update. We need to ensure that any development that does happen is of the highest quality. We need to support economic development and bring additional high-quality jobs here to Hollister so that not so many people need to leave the community for work. And we need to respond to state mandates and the new general plan guidelines, because since 2005 and those 15 years, the state has actually, for better or worse, added a lot of legal requirements to the general plan, and one of our goals is to help you update the general plan to make sure it complies with all those legal requirements. I do want to tell you a little bit about our firm. We have 4 major areas of specialization, and the first of them you see here is planning. We, as Abraham mentioned, have prepared over 100 general plans in the state of California. There are actually only about 550 jurisdictions that need a general plan, so that means we've prepared about 20% of them in the entire state. We do also have a lot of expertise in zoning and writing of form-based codes. I was interested that you passed your SB2 resolution tonight. We are experts in housing and are actually the state's consultants for technical assistance under the SB2 program. We have a lot of expertise in transportation planning, which will be a big issue here, and we're very concerned about economics, economic development, and creating healthy, sustainable communities. We also are urban designers and architects. I personally have a degree in architecture. We have urban designers, we have landscape architecture, and we want to make sure that all the planning decisions that you all make really will create the highest possible design quality here in the city. We are park planners, we are site planners, and we're very concerned to make sure that you have not only a functional, but a beautiful and vibrant community. We are environmental planners. We do our own in-house review under the California Environmental Quality Act. We prepare our own EIRs, and we'll be preparing the EIR for your general plan. We also have a very strong practice in climate action and resiliency, and as part of this plan, we will be preparing both a climate action plan as well as a resiliency plan to confront hazards as well. And then finally, and I already mentioned this, we are very committed to community participation and involvement. We've put together a program for this project that includes a large number of community meetings. It includes close work with your community general plan advisory committee, and all of that information and materials will be prepared in both English and Spanish to create the most possible community involvement that we can. We do have a team that includes not only PlaceWorks, but also several consultants. I can tell you a little bit about them later if you'd like, but I'll just mention that we have consultants, Kimley Horn in Transportation, BA Urban Economics to help with the economic side, a biologist, a firm with expertise in hazard planning, and also an arts consultant, because we heard from you and your staff that creating a public art plan would also be an important part of this project. Abraham was already so kind as to mention our experience, the book that I've written, The General Plan in California. This is a map of the many cities and counties where we've prepared general plans. I do teach UC Davis's class on how to prepare a general plan. And our approach focuses on 6 items here. And Mr. Mayor, I'm aware of time. I do have a slide for each of these 6 items, but I also don't want to take more of your time than you would like. Would you like to hear about all 6 of these?
Let me say this. We've been waiting about 4 or 5 years for this day.
Okay.
So you take the time.
Take
Let's
the time
do
we
this
need.
right.
Okay, great. I will do that then. So I will go through a slide then on each of these 6 items. I won't read them right now then, and instead I'll go into each one. The first part of our approach is to focus on targeted issues. Your staff actually wrote an excellent request for proposals for this project that gave us a lot of information about what issues are facing Hollister today. And we really wrote our proposal to respond to those key issues. This is a comprehensive general plan update, but it's going to focus in on the 5 items that you see listed here on this slide. The first of those is to respond to the state's mandates that have come to you over these last 15 years. But perhaps more importantly is number 1, to articulate a general plan vision. You have a pretty good general plan from 2005. It has a lot of interesting concepts in it, but there's nowhere in that general plan that sort of gives an overarching picture of what you're trying to achieve. I think you probably have at least some consensus about what that is. I know there are points of non-consensus, but we really need to take that and formulate it into a simple statement, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 pages at the very most, that takes that whole fat general plan and translates it into a single vision. So that's the next point that I have here. The next is to consider growth management. I know you've had some strong debates about the appropriate way to go about growth management. I think there's a consensus that you need to manage growth here in town, but we'll need to work with you as to exactly how that should happen. And we'll need to do that in the face of new state law that I think you know that as of January 1st, there's actually new state law that actually limits your ability to do certain kinds of growth management. So we'll be working with you on that as well. We are aware, of course, also of your special planning areas. You already have 4 of them. Staff has told us that you might add 3 more. They're shown on this map here. The 4 existing ones are the ones in colored blobs. The black circles are 3 additional areas. We'll be doing detailed planning and detailed urban design for each of those 7 areas. And finally, we'll be working with you closely on issues about annexations and changes to what we call the sphere of influence, the SOI, and we'll be working with you to understand, are there areas that are appropriate to annex in order to either preserve additional ag and open space under city jurisdiction or to accommodate future growth. And then finally, I want to mention within that vein, we also want to help you to work with San Benito County so that as you control growth within your own limits, you don't have the county right across the street perhaps allowing projects that you yourselves might not have approved. So we have a strong track record throughout Northern California of working with cities and counties together to help them manage their growth at the same time and in concert with each other. So bear with me, that's my first of 6 points. Secondly, I do want to mention that we're very concerned here, and we know you are, with community identity and high quality design. Particularly the downtown area and the areas immediately adjacent to the downtown are beautiful areas. They're rich in history, they're rich in architectural character, they're rich in modern cultural character, and we need to make sure that we do everything we can to preserve those areas, enhance them, and allow other portions of Hollister to move forward and take on the wonderful characteristics that those historic areas already have. So we'll be working very closely with you on that set of issues. Third, we do have a project approach that has a whole range of very creative engagement strategies. I already mentioned that all our work will be done in both English and Spanish, and you can see some examples of our Spanish language work on this slide. We will be creating a website. We will be creating interactive exercises that people can do on the web, that they can do on their handheld devices or cell phones. They'll be able to go out into the field and provide input to us remotely or from their own homes. And then we will also have a series of workshops and community pop-up events where we'll be going out to local events within the community to be sure that we're really hearing from all aspects of the community to find out what issues are important to all your residents as you put together this general plan. We will be working very strongly with you on economic development. We know that many people here in Hollister need to commute out of the city to go to work. We want to try and change that. We will be working with an economist, BAE Urban Economics, who's worked with us in a number of similar communities, and we work hand in hand together on the land use side and on the economic side to find ways to bring additional jobs and additional economic development to our client cities. And you can see here a list of 6 items that we think really do have a lot of promise. Making the downtown a better, stronger place, working in your northern industrial area, working around the airport, which we see as a resource that's really somewhat tapped, but really has a lot more potential. Making Hollister even more of an agricultural center than it already is, bringing in additional tourism, and also looking at cannabis as a sub-industry within the agricultural industry. We believe that all of these warrant study. There may not be consensus in favor of all of them at this time, but we want to make sure that we leave no stone unturned as we look at ways to bring additional economic development to Hollister. I also want to mention circulation and compliance with the new state law, SB 743. We'll be looking at a number of issues about transportation because obviously transportation, particularly getting in and out of Hollister. I came in with all the traffic tonight from the Bay Area. I know exactly what that commute is like. We need to really be considering how do we deal with our transportation issues. We'll be working with you to create what we call complete streets, that is streets that accommodate not only cars, but also pedestrians, bicycles, transit, and so forth. We'll be looking at safe routes to school to get our children to school in ways that does not create additional traffic and instead really emphasizes safety. We'll be looking at helping you to move into implementing state law SB 743, which requires you to move from level of service assessment to vehicle miles traveled, and we'll be working with you to actually create new guidelines to do those evaluations. And we will be also working with you on a policy to engender roundabouts throughout the city. Among the many cities where we did the general plan is the town of Truckee and the Sierras. Truckee has a policy that they do not install any new traffic signals without first considering a roundabout, and that's a policy that we helped to write, and we've heard that roundabouts are of great interest here as well. So those are some traffic issues that we'll be looking at. Finally, I wanted to mention that we have a host of planning tasks that are within our general plan scope, but are really extra items that staff has asked us to add and that will ensure that you have the most complete planning toolkit available to you. We will be doing, as I already mentioned, an economic development element in the general plan. We'll be creating a public arts element to foment the arts even more here in Hollister. We will be doing a special standalone SB 743 implementation program. We'll be creating a climate action plan and a hazard mitigation plan to address those issues that come to us because of climate change. And finally, we'll be doing municipal services review to allow you to work closely with your local agency formation commission, the LAFCO, as projects move forward here in the city. With that said, I just want to point out that we have put together a schedule for this project that runs just about at 18 months. It's actually a pretty aggressive schedule for a general plan, but I think one that we can achieve here, and that's going to create a foundation for you to move forward in economic development and community preservation here throughout Hollister and for another 10 to 20 years to come. We're very excited to work with you on this project, and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have as we move forward this evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Councilmember Lenore?
Do you entertain questions this evening, or?
It's really at the
Yeah,
mayor's
absolutely.
discretion.
Oh,
Absolutely.
please.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, my own personal opinion is I think the sphere of influence is gonna be a very good discussion on the updating our plan. What's the difference between an urban growth boundary and a sphere of influence, just roughly?
Well, I could really get into the weeds on this.
Well, I've been in planning for a really long
Yeah,
time, so I'll
so
understand.
the sphere of influence is mandated by state law, and according to the state law, it is the area that you think would be your ultimate boundary after annexations.
I know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the difference between an urban growth boundary and a sphere of influence?
So the urban growth boundary is a boundary that's not mandated in state law, but that you and other cities have put in place. In your case, it has to do with the area where you've identified that you're going to provide urban services. That's how
Like
you've
our
defined
USA
it. Your
one.
USA, essentially.
Okay.
You could develop that as an urban growth boundary, which could be either the same as the USA or a different line, and that would be up to you.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. So you've done a lot of general plans. I'm assuming that housing elements were also part of all those general plans?
Yes, we have one of the largest housing element practices in the
Okay,
state.
great. Just a few questions. So you mentioned state legislation, and so how has it impacted, one or two examples of how has new pieces of legislation impacted the general plan process?
Well, I'll give you three examples off the top of my head. We did just have the passage of SB 330, went into effect the first of this year, and among other things, it prohibits new caps on total growth within a city. So that will be an important consideration here. A few years ago, we had SB 1000, which mandated that all of our communities consider environmental justice when you put together your general plan. And so by law, we need to help you to do an assessment to find out if you have what are called communities of concern. I'm guessing you may have those here. And then by law, we need to create a set of policies to make sure that in those communities, that we help those communities come up to the level of the rest of the community. And we actually, at PlaceWorks, we wrote the statewide primer on how to implement SB 1000.
Okay, sounds good. Can you comment briefly on the city's arena requirements?
Well, RENA requirements for your city are not in place now.
Right.
You do have a housing element that is certified by the state. We expect to see RENAs coming to the AMBAG region, the Monterey Bay region, about 2 years from now. We should have the general plan done, and we should have a very strong foundation for you to create a new housing element that addresses that allocation. For your information, statewide, the allocations coming this round compared to the previous round are running 2 to 3 times as big as in the previous round. So we don't know, of course, in the AMBAG region, but that's been the sort of precedent in other parts of the state.
And then the final question I have is what kind of strategies can be used to meet the RENA, needs for a predominantly built-out city? Like, is it up?
Well, yes. I mean, there's really 3 things you can do, and I think you'll have to decide here which are the best ones. I think the one that you all will likely find most palatable is what we call infill. As you drive around town, not looking beyond the edges of town, but there are a number of sites that are currently either vacant or underdeveloped. And without going way up, I think you can identify a large number of sites that you can put additional development on those infill sites and meet your RENA. In addition to that, you can in some areas go up, and I know, for instance, you've had an idea to build a building right here downtown that was a few stories taller than other development. Maybe that's a thing to look at, and then one can look at expansion at the edges as well, and that may be less palatable for at least part of the community. We'll look at all three of those as we move forward in this plan.
Okay, thank you so much for
Thank you.
answering those.
Thank you. Councilmember Spencer?
Yes, I have some questions myself. First off, who's going to be the project manager?
Well, I am the principal in charge, and our project manager is a woman named Carrie Stone. Your staff got to meet her as part of our interview. She works with me very closely on a number of projects. We're right now, I can mention them in detail if you'd like, but she and I are personally managing about 4 projects simultaneously together right now.
Okay, and what is the local knowledge base of your firm, and how many projects have you done in Hollister or San Benito County?
Well, if I may say so, Hollister and San Benito County don't do a huge number of planning projects, but that said, I'm actually a part of a spiritual group that has a retreat center in the hills right above Hollister, so I've worked with San Benito County on that. We have also been the consultants to AMBAG, the Monterey Bay region, in putting together guidelines for smart growth and sustainable development that looked at all 3 counties and that did include work in Hollister because we looked at work in all 3 of the counties. So I do have a fair amount of experience here in the county, despite the fact that this is a relatively smaller county compared to some parts of the Bay Area and Northern California overall.
Okay, what other communities of this size have engaged your firm to undertake a general plan?
Well, we've done, as we've said, over 100 general plans, but just to name a few, Morgan Hill is not very much different size than here, and this is obviously very close. We did Santa Cruz's general plan. We did Capitola's general plan. We mentioned we're doing the Los Banos general plan right now. Moving a little farther up, we did the general plan in Los Gatos. We did the general plan, trying to kind of go up the bay and think a little further. I mean, to give larger examples, we're right now working on parts of the Oakland general plan, not all of it, but helping them to get started on their general plan. We're starting the Santa Rosa general plan. We did the general plan in Calistoga in the North Bay, which is actually about the same size as Hollister. So we've done a large number of general plans that are approximately the same size community.
Okay, and my last question. Have any cities or counties been sued over your general plan that your firm has prepared or updated?
I'm pleased to be able to say no. And in fact, for the city of Tulare, they were subject to a lawsuit which they lost on a general plan that we did not prepare, and we came in and fixed it for them to great accolades from all sides in the case. So we're glad to not be on the losing side of a lawsuit, instead occasionally to have been able to help cities to get out of lawsuits when they've been in them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Richmond?
Thank you very much. Welcome to Hollister.
Thank you.
I hope you like it here. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
I went over your qualifications quite carefully. I find them very impressive.
Thank you.
I want you to know that. I have a couple items I do want to discuss, and I understand we're discussing these in very short terms.
Yeah.
Without much detail. One of my major concerns is affordable housing, not just housing.
Right.
Because saying housing is an enormous, a small word that covers an enormous amount of space. I assume since you've done housing elements, you've dealt with affordable housing?
Absolutely.
Okay. Have you dealt with it also in the area of inclusionary housing ordinances that
Yes.
apply to various developments to
Yes.
get affordable housing?
Yes.
Okay. So you're prepared to look at some of that?
Yes, if your council has a desire to look at an inclusionary ordinance or policy, we would be very happy to help you with that. It can be a very effective way to generate affordable housing. There are communities that don't want to put such a strong policy in place, but I personally feel like it can be very effective. Just to give you one example, we're the general plan consultants for the city of Livermore, and Livermore does have a very strong and effective inclusionary housing policy that we're very familiar with.
I would also be interested, when we get into it, if the council so desires to look at inclusionary housing, which I hope they do, that we also get your very frank opinion on shying off bad policies concerning, I'm sure there are plenty of those. So I'm looking for the right path, not
Great,
necessarily
great.
just a path
But,
to
could
say
I-
we've got.
Could I interject here to be very frank
course.
with you? There will be times when I will say to you, because I'll mean it, that I think that would not be a good policy track to go to. There will be other times when I will say to you that I'm aware that there are two sides of this issue and that it really is, there's no right or wrong, and it's a policy issue for you to determine. And inclusionary housing would be one of those. I certainly would not say that it's a one-size-fits-all solution. And at the same time, so there are communities that have, we're also working in Tracy, which has a big concern now with affordable housing. We are their general plan consultants from many years ago. Council asked us to come in just recently. I'm actually going there tomorrow night to show our final results, 18 different points to consider to enhance affordable housing in Tracy. And their council said, we do not want inclusionary on that list. Don't even talk to us about it. So different sides think differently about those things.
I don't think we've taken a formal vote yet, but I have a feeling we probably have a majority toward that. And I
Great.
certainly would think it's worth the discussion whether or not we adopt it or not.
Yep.
I think it's worth ringing out. I just wanted to bring it to the forefront. The other item, you talked about a hazard mitigation plan. And of course, we have a hazard here that's not unique to California, but is unique to some areas of California. That is the seismic hazard.
That's right.
And that is very special with us because it affects our ability to do certain developments in the areas where they're within so many feet of the fault, as you're well aware.
Yes.
Since the Northridge quake happened and they changed the law.
Right. I actually grew up in Northridge. So.
Oh, okay. So you are well aware.
I'm well aware, yes.
Of what happened there. So do you think you will find some expertise to take a look at the seismic hazard issues, especially concerning where the faults run in the downtown area and other areas that it may affect our commercial ability to do commercial construction? and
Yes,
so forth?
absolutely. So we have Atlas Planning Group on our team for this work. Just to be perfectly transparent about this, the principal at Atlas Planning is a former PlaceWorks employee. He does great work. He decided to go out on his own, Aaron Pfannenstiel. He is, I think, really one of the 2 or 3 people statewide who's one of the best hazard mitigation planners that the state has. And we were very sorry to see him leave us, but he did have the capacity to create his own company. But we're very happy to still be able to use him as a sub-consultant.
Well, I'll close my remarks by saying that I have an enormous amount of faith in our staff, in the planning department and development staff, and they were very impressed with your presentation and very impressed with your qualifications, and I believe I can see why, and I hope we get to do good work together.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It's nice to see staff smiling and excited. As I said, this is a conversation we've been having for quite a while about updating this
Right.
general plan, and for whatever reason, it's taken a great amount of time to get here. I like what I'm hearing, your ideas and the vision you have out there. I've heard about your firm and some of the creativity. I'm glad to hear you're working with Morgan Hill. We were looking at their affordable housing policy recently, and it's amazing what they're doing and what we are not doing. And it's been a conversation here for several years, and the amount of money we have lost out on by not implementing these policies so we can have more affordable housing is astounding. And we need to move on these things sooner rather than later. The community input is a critical component of making this a success. And it's something that I think the public has been screaming out for quite a while, of listening to them, creating new ideas rather than just going with what has been done in the past and doing it over and over again. So I'm excited. I think this is a chance for us to get started. I like that your timeline is aggressive, and I'm sure the community is going to be excited about participating. I know the staff is ready to get working on this and moving as quickly as possible. So
Great.
thank you for being here
Thank you.
tonight, and
Thank
thank
you.
you for your presentation.
You're welcome. I'll take a seat, but just so you know, I am available. If there are public comments or other questions from you, I
Sure.
can come back
Thank
up.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have public comments?
Yes. Virginia Hernandez.
Good evening, one more time. My name is Virginia Hernandez. I'm a community volunteer, and I want to talk to you about general consultants. I want to thank city staff for all the work on this item. It is a very long process. Will cost us a lot of money. I prefer more public involvement in I prefer more public involvement on the selection of the general plan consultant. A public process will allow you, me, and the public an opportunity to ask the consultants questions before you make a selection. The county made a mistake, and they have to change consultants because they could not do the work that was needed. So let's take our time and do it right and get the public involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elias Salinas.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. And that was a very impressive presentation and very well thought out. However, I was here a few months ago when PlaceWorks was mentioned, and I brought up a controversy that I thought there was a conflict of interest with the mayor using this company, because I have information that the mayor contacted this company personally because he does business with them already, and that's a conflict of interest, and asked them to contact him and told him to bid for this coming up. We, the city and the county, should be working together. We have, the county is using EMC right now, and EMC was one of the bidders with this, and it is my suggestion that you slow this process down. $700,000 is a lot of money. EMC knows the area. They've done all their homework. You would just be adding to the city, and I think we should give an opportunity to use this company. We need some public input on this. I know one of the ideas was economic development, and we already have an economic development corporation. We already have arts councils, and we have a lot of things involved. So part of those ideas is what we already have in the county. So why am I having to have our council members approve $700,000 for this for 18 months? You have the opportunity to give sworn peace officers raises and hire more police officers so that they don't leave this city. And you turn them down, and those are the people that we depend upon. Yet you're willing to give a company $700,000, but you tell your public employees, especially the peace officers, that we can't afford them. And that's just not showing your confidence in your employees. So I know that the mayor, you wanted 7 acres for parks, for developments, and that was shot down. So it was I think it was 4 acres or 5 acres that they finally settled on. That was what I call a backdoor trying to set a moratorium. And you use Los Baños as an example, and Los Baños was under $300,000 per acre to do a park. With the city of Hollister would be a cost to developers of over about $700,000. How are we going to get affordable housing if you're going to put on to the developers that much money? So we need to slow this down. We need to go back to the board. And Mayor, you can go ahead and you can take an hour or whatever, and you can go out there and you can question my veracity. But at the end of the day, that phone call that you made is on your cell phone. We don't have access to your cell phone because you use personal. You're not using the city. So you go ahead and you deny it. But you and I know what you've done.
Okay. So let me, since I'm accused of something, maybe we get this worked out so we're clear about this. Did I ask for 7 acres for parks in our communities? Absolutely. I believe if Los Baños can do it, we can do it. Unfortunately, that was turned down. So let's talk about this accusation that, you know, there's so much mud that gets thrown out around here about different things. It astounds me. So there's a accusation that somehow I have a conflict of interest with your company, that somehow my company has worked for you or hired you, or I don't know where this is coming from personally. So maybe you can explain if I've ever hired you, if I've met you guys somewhere else other than a conference. I don't know.
I first heard about this morning. Staff let us know that Ms. Salinas had mentioned this, I believe at a previous public meeting. I think you and I both know we have never met before tonight. And I actually went to all 140 staff members at PlaceWorks. We have a Monday morning meeting of all our management. We talked about it personally, and I sent an email to every member of our staff to ask if anyone had ever heard of Ignacio Velasquez, mayor of Hollister. And I'm sorry to say that the answer was no. I'm sure you wish you had greater notoriety than that, but the answer is no. You and I have never met, and as near as we can tell, none of us in our office have ever met you at all. So I'm sure that Ms. Salinas has very valid concerns and is looking for good government, which we also very much support. But in this case, there's no connection, and honestly, we've never met.
Well, sorry to say, I asked my company members too if they've ever heard of you, and they had no idea who you were either.
Okay.
So I can tell you, since I signed the checks at my company, I've never paid you. I've never met you guys. Again, we might have bumped into each other at a conference.
Absolutely.
And you might have explained what you did, and I might have said, you sound
That's
like
possible.
a company that
That's
should be
right.
coming over here. But to again go out, and now we're seeing this again, folks. This is something that keeps happening here. For some unknown reason, people make false allegations constantly. They come up here, they throw mud, they make accusations, then they go, hopefully nobody's going to question them on it. No, I'm going to question it. I'm going to make sure we're absolutely clear, because it is vital that we update this general plan. It's been stalled for so many years. I've been trying to get this thing moving, as I said, past 4 or 5 years to get this update. Then we have these kind of accusations. No, we're going to do this right. And that's been the goal for a long time, to do it with a company that has these creative ideas that can change the way of thinking, making sure, as you pointed, high quality projects, not just let's pass it because it's a good old friend of ours and they're good people. That has to end. This is why we have the problems we have in our community. I want to see a well thought out plan to give us direction, not only now, but for the next 10 years, if not more. So, you know, I would appreciate an apology for the false accusation. I mean, I sit here time after time after time and listen to it, and really we can't respond, but this time I think it's fair to respond. You and I have never done business in the past. I don't know your company other than what I've heard here today, or might have bumped into you guys at a conference somewhere. That is it. So I just want to make sure we're absolutely clear that it's just not right to keep doing what happens. And this is what really stalls our community and takes us back. We shouldn't be going there. So again, thank you for what you're doing. Okay, so do we have any other speaker cards?
There are no more speakers.
Okay, is there any other comments
Yes.
from staff or
Yes,
council?
I'll
Councilmember
further
Lenore?
comment. I do not see a problem with one of us up here knowing about a good company, a consultant that could possibly do a good job for us, and recommending them. Also, when they submit their bids, money isn't even really the first consideration. They look at the proposal first, and then they open how much it's going to cost. So we got away from making it money-based. My opinion is, I think it's time for a breath of fresh air in the planning consultant area, because I'd like to see a little change, and I really think that you have some good qualifications, and I like what you said tonight, and maybe we need to be a little more modern in our thinking than what we've been always using EMC. I like EMC, but really I'd like to see something different this time. So I do agree that this company could probably be good for us, and I'd like to give that a try. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I've been,
One more thing.
Councilmember Spencer.
Okay, this is a project that may well exceed $1 million. I think it is prudent for the city council and the public to thoroughly vet the top 3 consultants to ensure the public is getting what it needs now and in the future. With that said, I'd like to make a motion. Can I do
see,
it?
Councilmember Richmond has something to
Richmond,
say.
okay.
Yeah. Councilmember Richmond?
Thank you. Just for clarification for the public, so they get the right numbers. This is not a $700,000 project. This is actually a $1.4 million project. The $700,000 is only for this phase of the project. I wish we could get a general plan update for $700,000. It would be a bargain, okay? Maybe $1.4 million is a bargain, I don't know. I'm not in the general plan business, but I have to be honest with you. People have professional reputations. I don't know the gentleman. We've also never met. I do think a lot of accusations get thrown around. The mayor made a big deal out of it, and that's okay with me. Of course, saying people are just giving projects to their friends is also an accusation. I hope you all realize that. I don't give any projects to my friends. I don't have any friends. It's that simple. Okay? I have acquaintances, and I like my acquaintances. But no one gets a project from me because of my friends. So there's no truth to that either. But that's how accusations happen. One accusation happens followed by another accusation. We go on. We've been doing this forever. We can do it forever and a day if we have to. I believe that professional reputation is important. Experience is important. These folks, although I don't know them, obviously have a good professional reputation. They have gads of experience. I don't know, there's no other word for it. Will they suit us? Well, we won't know till we're in it hip deep. But I think the proposal will do everything in Spanish. The proposal to get out and talk to the residents, have a lot of public meetings. And I know everybody proposes that, are as impressive as anybody else's. And once again, when push comes to shove on this, by the way, I should reveal that I've had some ex parte discussions with the MC, and I like them. They're friends of mine. If I had friends, they would be friends of mine. But the truth of the matter is, I think these folks are well qualified, and I do trust the staff. Okay? After all, they do the work. We get all the credit and all the blame. We sit up here like we're running the place, but the truth of the matter is that the city manager runs the place and the staff does all the work. And they do it most of the time when we're home and asleep. So I'm going to trust the staff on this, and that way I get to blame them if it doesn't work out all right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Councilmember Sendes?
Yeah, I just want to echo a lot of the same sentiment that some of my colleagues are saying up here. The staff has done a phenomenal job involving the public, vetting the different agencies that applied. I want to thank you for building or bringing a different perspective to our city. I want to say that I do appreciate everybody here in Hollister that's working hard. The the Arts Council, the other agencies that are working here. But sometimes we need to go outside of our community to bring in a different, new, fresh perspective so that we can stay with the times, so to speak. I think that your company offers that, and I'm very excited. I also do appreciate the fact that you're going to reach out to the Latino community and that you're going to give them access via their mobile phones and their computers. I think that's highly innovative of you guys, and I'm excited to get that rolling out. I do want to address the accusations that are being made up here by special interests / lobbyists / consultants, whatever you want to call yourselves. I think it's a bit of a slap in the face to the staff, the time, the energy, and all the resources that were put into this process. And I do think that there's a conflict of interest between some council members up here and the relationship of the people that come up here and make those accusations. It's sad, and it needs to stop, because it gives us all a bad name. And sometimes if you think you're winning, you're really losing, and you're hurting the community, and you're hurting your friends up here as well. Thank you.
Just again, I wanted to thank staff. This has been a long conversation for many years. I've been pushing on this for this general plan update. So with that, I do want to make the motion to approve resolution number 2020-17.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you very much. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
We're going to report to, move
Yes,
to reports. 7:30. Students, come up and get your stamps. We're going to take a 5-minute break, everyone.
Thank you.
Almost done. Why-
Okay, we're gonna go to reports from city council members from their committees. G1, Councilmember Lenore.
Committees, I didn't have any committee work since the last meeting.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Spencer.
No reports from me.
Okay, Councilmember Richmond.
Thank you. Actually, Councilmember Lenore did have committee work since the last meeting, and I'll be happy to report out on that. And so the Revitalization Committee for Downtown met again with the planning staff. We were very happy to do it, and they supplied some very interesting information. And also, we did a quick review of the basic parking availability downtown and how it's laid out. And the staff said they would work on getting some more information for us and perhaps some alternate parking overlays. We haven't made any decisions, but we're making a list of issues that have to be addressed, we believe, and the list keeps getting longer every time we have a meeting. So we haven't started to fix anything yet. We're one of these instant fixes that doesn't work. What we're trying to look to do is get it all together and see which items we could start moving on right away that we know we can do, and which items we have to stack up because one depends on the other. So that was the only committee item I went to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Resendez.
Nothing to report.
I don't have anything to report this time either. We're going to move to item G2, informational reports from City Council. Councilmember Lenore.
Okay, I do have a couple of items. Okay, on January 22nd through the 24th, I went to the new mayors and council members academy in Sacramento. I didn't know I was going to be the only one. I still have hopes for us, so I was the only one. I did sit and attend with Mayor Mary Edge from San Juan Bautista, as well as council member Leslie Jordan.
Yes.
So I was sitting with them for the most part, and I wanted to just run through a little bit on some of the things that they did discuss. And one of the items was, I'm not going to do them all, was the effective advocacy and key city issues. And some of them that were identified was transportation was a very big key issue. They did acknowledge that it was partially addressed by SB1. The other issue was scooters and e-bikes. There's a concern that there's data sharing going on there. These are all league concerns. And I can't give you too much, but apparently there's an FCC communication lawsuit that was of great concern to them, but I didn't quite grasp that whole lawsuit. There was also one of the key issues, the budget deal signed, and NEPA, I believe that's National Environmental Protection Agency, is rolling back protections on federal lands, so they're as well concerned with that. They're also got a concern with drones, and the FAA requiring ID and comments are due in March because they have issue with drones. They'd like to see them all have ID where they can be identified who they belong to. It's really an up and coming issue. Also as well, cannabis taxes. Moving on, economic development. They discuss sustainable development. They also have key issues of law enforcement use of force, PG&E shutdowns, and Community Service Act, as in Master Plan for Aging, which is coming forward. So those are just some of the issues that are facing California that they are tracking. Also, there was a section on your legal powers and obligations. They noted a function of your city attorney's office is to advise on legislative laws and summary of laws. Also, resources such as Public Records Guide and Brown Act guides are available on, and I can't see the website, but it's californiacities.org if you wanted to see Public Resources Guide and the Brown Act Guide. It was also a theme on that one that said consult your city attorney often. So that was something they want all of the council members to consult with the city attorney often. Ask questions and interact with him. There's also, we have sources of law, which is the California Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, state and federal statutes, city ordinance, and court decisions, which includes case laws. So we all have those types of things we can reflect on to guide us along. There we have an appointing authority. This is city council does not direct city employees, so that was also a point there. It's the city manager's job to direct city employees. And then city attorneys need time to research. Don't blindside them at a meeting. If you truly have a concern with something the city attorney has done, give him a call and tell him you're concerned with that. So at least let him be prepared to answer your concerns at the meeting. So he doesn't look like he doesn't know. He has to know a lot on a lot of many different subjects. So if you could help him out by letting him know when you're unhappy, he'll be more prepared for you. And then on Thursday, we started with the housing and development. They spoke about SB 50 was off to the Senate, but it failed now. So I'm sure that's going to be reworked by them. Also, they mentioned tools that you can use in housing development, which is obviously general plan, specific plan, zoning, CEQA, and other regulations. Okay. Let's see. General plan includes, we had a nice presentation tonight, but it does involve a lot of things. Land use circulation, open space, conservation, housing, noise, and safety. Optional elements are parks and rec. By the way, this presentation was given by a gentleman by the name of Mark Teague of PlaceWorks. So I tried to, I'm like, hey, that's the one we're gonna talk about. So he was pretty good. And some of the alternative elements are parks and recreation, sustainability, public health, economic development, public facilities, and service and implementations. They mentioned downtowns can use specific plans instead of general plans. That's what this gentleman said. And they said when developers coming in to ask them for a market study and an economist to study for mixed use. I think he mentioned that tonight. Mixed use can include vertical mixed use or horizontal mixed use. And then last is what they talked about, late hits. So those are lengthy comments that arrive at our DS right when we're getting ready to start a meeting. They said, don't let that derail a project. That's pretty hard to get when you get a big, thick thing and they're objecting to a project right before you're gonna vote on a resolution. It's really not effective for anybody. And then there was a section about financial responsibilities. We have a financial responsibility to our employees to be competitive but sustainable. We know that we had an over-reliance on RDA. Obligation bonds are risky, they mentioned, and we need to collaborate with each other. Also, actions are identify problems, act to remedy, avoid being blindsided, and add credibility. Let's see, they talked about OPEB, that's other post-employment benefits. They said defined contributions, defined benefits, and length of employee on salary history. This is the formulas they use to get to the amount of your retirement. Pension funding is contribution from employers, employees, and most of it is CalPERS investment. And I've known that for a long time because I read the CalPERS magazine. The bulk of our funding for CalPERS retirees is investment based. And then long-term financial planning combines forecasting with financial strategy. So in closing, some of the top tips for cities: obtain key documents, annual operating budget for city councils, CIP and CAFR, which is Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. We should all be familiar with those documents. Develop and use financial policies. I think we have several policies there. Know the difference between overtime versus deferred solutions versus sustainable solutions. Ask hard questions and avoid unattainable, unsustainable programs. So if you're gonna make it a rule, then make sure you can implement it. And that's all I have for that.
Thank you.
And next I have, sorry, this is one of very particular interest because it was good, and I just got to pull up one thing here so that I can introduce you to the gentleman that spoke to me. I was invited to Economic Development Corporation meeting last week, and yeah, I always come when they call because I'm serious about economic development. So we were introduced to a gentleman by the name of Jason. It's hard for me to read sometimes. We were introduced to a gentleman named Jason Rassador. and he is a director with Hickey and Associates. So Jason has extensive experience working with large corporations, small businesses, and governments on economic development, site selection. This is why we're here. We're here to tell you what they look for when they're selecting a site. Partnership, and then also extensive experience in establishing and maintaining partnerships with private sector and public sectors, researching legislative bills and proposals, economic analysis. So he has a master's degree in public policy and a bachelor's degree in government studies. So he had a lot of knowledge, and he's been doing like 30 years, I think. All right, so what he said that the number one thing a company is looking for when they're looking for a site is labor availability. So they want to know the analytics on that. They're also very concerned with labor costs based on MSAs, labor sheds, and commuters. They want to know about real estate availability and cost. CEQA, he acknowledged, is a big hurdle in California, like no other place. They're concerned about infrastructure, roads, railhead, electrical grid, and wastewater treatment plant. When they're looking to locate somewhere, these are all, and broadband. So they're also looking for that. They're looking at logistics and transportation. They're looking at housing and the cost of housing. And they said that our housing is up 20% over national cost. They look for company and industry specific support. Some of the challenges that San Benito County has is it's located in California. PG&E service territory and the rates. Cost of housing, he had medium in housing at 496. I think it's more like 550. So I don't know which number is right. They also, the challenges for San Benito County is its distance from an international airport. So it's a little bit far away. And then labor sheds, as it results to lack of people. We know we have a large group that leaves every day. They're also factoring in crime and police response time. They look at economic development efforts and the fact that we are tucked away. That's a disadvantage. We're off the freeway. We've always known this, so that's a little bit of a disadvantage, depending on who you're talking to. Okay, advantages for San Benito County is we got a lot of flat land. Some counties don't have flat land, so we have flat land. We have a AA bond rating, which I hear is pretty decent. We have rural hospitality atmosphere. We have a large labor shed with within 1 to 2 hours of Santa Clara County. So if we should happen to get something good, you could have a reverse commuter. I mean, that would be kind of cool and different. Although we have plenty of people here that need those jobs. So they also, advantages for San Diego County is the poverty rate's lower than the national average. Building economic development from scratch, change is good, he said. Avoid, we've always done it this way. He said, don't do that. Don't say we've always done it this way. Open your eyes and consider new things. And then the state has a renewed focus on rural counties as far as, and we have a lot of good local state representatives. Then he also had thoughts on a new economic development. He said it's good to see government investment. We've invested in EDC, HDA, and Chamber of Commerce. These are all great signs for businesses looking to locate here because it shows we're serious and we're going to support business. And they said to be you, okay? Just be you. Don't try to copy everybody. Just be what works for Hollister. Focus on the past for reference, not direction. Grow and promote rural hospitality. Response matters. And what he said about that is they put a lot of RFIs, that's requests for information, out to communities, and some of them, they never respond. So what happens? They get taken off the RFI list. He said even if it's not a good fit for your community, to tell them what might work. Hey, maybe if we did this, it could work. Let them know you're interested so you don't fall off of their radar. Always respond to requests for informations. For information. Define what San Benito County wants economic development to be. As far as business attractions, what would you like to see here? So also, we have thoughts on new economic development, community development and bus growth, tourism and events. He said there was some good examples in Nashville and Austin on events. Industry is a good thing, obviously, to concentrate on. Get private sector buy-in. good confidentiality agreements so that when you are negotiating with somebody, say we're negotiating with somebody, we have to be quiet. Don't say anything that'll maybe be a negative. So we want to keep it confidential to keep control over it. Consider local incentive packages. We've done a little bit of that through impact fees. Post-project development, solicit state participation on activities, and invite your state reps. So what he means by that is, say somebody big wants to come here, have the state assembly person here, have the state controller here, show them that you want to, that you're acknowledging they want to locate here and roll out the red carpet. Again, respond to all inquiries and have patience. Thank you. I got a lot out of it. I was glad I went. There's so many good business people that roll out for these meetings. I have to tell you, they're working hard for you guys. That's why they really want to see us do, when we do talk about growth, they really want to make sure that we are able to sustain our growth, but also provide them the base that they need to bring business here. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Spencer?
Oh, that's me. So I attended the community forum for the San Benito Gavilan campus at Payne's on Tuesday, January 28th. They had 5 poster boards with several different renderings of what the buildings would look like. And they asked the participants if they would pick their favorite, middle, and least. Didn't care for any of them. So that was one thing. On Thursday, January 30th, oh my God, I was pleased to attend the ribbon cutting ceremony of Twin Oaks, a 50-plus community. I was honored to award Mark Miller with a certificate of knowledge for his vision on this planned community. The models are absolutely gorgeous, and I tell you, we need more of these all throughout our community. They are a positive. We talk about development, we talk about economic growth and everything else. This is what we need. When people move into these communities, they are 90% retired. They spend their money here, they go to the doctors here, they shop here, they do everything in our community. It's just amazing. And Mr. Miller was amazing. They made him and I do a Zumba class. He did it better than I did. I also attended the candidate forum that was also held at Payne's for county supervisors, learned where the candidates stood on issues and measures. On Saturday, February 1st, I attended the dedication of the new EHAT Technical Center at Hollister Recreation Center. This is a grant-funded program with access to libraries for our elderly, for our low income, for whoever needs them. They're accessible. They are asking for donations, so if anybody can donate pens, paper, pencils, erasers, it would be great to donate to the EHAT Center. So I would like to talk about something I have talked before on this. I would like to have the city manager and the interim chief look at some kind of camera radar system to reduce the continuing racing and speeding that is happening in our community. Southside Road has become, it's a quarter-mile track. They start at San Benito and they just race down. Somebody's gonna get hurt, or somebody is unfortunately going to lose their life. I know that I have talked to our former chief about this. We put patrols out there. As soon as the police show up, there's nothing. As soon as the police go, they're back at it. I know I have discussed red light cameras, and I know that's not exactly what we need there, but some kind of surveillance where we can get license plates and do a ticketing through mail, if that's possible. I'm hoping that we can do this, and come up with to agree on some kind of a solution that is cost effective and can help this community. Because I know the community members are upset about all the racing around this town, and we need to stop it. Let's see, do I have anything else? I would like to, I know she's not here, and hopefully staff will tell her. Tina Garza is doing an amazing job. That woman works endlessly to bring things to our community. She was part of the EHAT. I just want to throw out kudos to her because she's an amazing woman. She works very hard, and nobody needs to push her to do her job. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Richmond.
Thank you. Let me open by saying something that we don't say very much. So first of all, I'd like to thank the public for coming down here. I see the same faces time and time again because these are people who are really interested in what's going on. So I want to thank you for being here. As far as my report goes, both Mayor Velazquez and I attended since the working group of the State Route 25, which included in the working group people from Caltrans, people from the Mobility Partnership over VTA up in Santa Clara County. We had a local representative from the California Highway Patrol, people from the cities, people from COG, and the usual suspects is the way people put it. And we all got down to talking very bluntly about the issues concerning getting the Highway 25 project done, and where we see that there's going to be still some problems because money, they don't let us print our own. We have to go out and get money somewhere, and that becomes an issue. So we can't always get what we want, as I believe that's a song title. You can't always have what you want. But I will announce, and I don't think it's a secret, as a public meeting. First of all, I'd like to thank Assemblyman Rivas for chairing the meeting. And second of all, I would like to, I don't think it's a secret because it was an open meeting, that we announced that there was a general agreement that we've got to do everything we possibly can to stop people from making left turns off of Bolsa Road during the rush hours. And the group will pick the right people and, again, go back to Santa Clara County and see if we can get an agreement to do something. We haven't come up with an answer yet about what to do about it, what the hours might be, whether we're going to put concrete out there, keep people from making the turn. But I think there was a general agreement. Is that a fair thing to say, Mr. Mayor? There was a general agreement that we want to stop that left turn off Bolsa Road. Okay?
Yeah,
Everybody knew that, and we're going to see what we can do about it. Other than that, we talked about where to make the best investment to get the thing moving quickly. I think it was very productive. It was a very productive meeting. Everybody talked frankly about their problems. Some of the problems have to do with the famous, the money's here and you can't move it over there without special permission, or you can't move it over there because it came in under this program and you can't do that. Now, this is just a function of the way the government works. Those of you who've been doing this for a while know that a lot of times money goes in under a certain program and it has to be used for that program. If it doesn't get used for that program, then essentially in many cases you wind up giving it back, unless you can find something else that they're willing to accept. So that is basically my major meeting, and that's my major report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Resendez.
Just a quick few things. I was just wondering where we're at with the flavored tobacco ban.
I believe that was supposed to come back at the first meeting in March. Was that what the schedule was? Do you recall?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I believe that's the case, Councilmember Resendez.
All right. And then the other thing was the sign ad hoc ordinance. Sign ordinance, sorry.
Yes, that actually was referred to me, and I don't know that we've placed a date on for that to come back, but it should be very soon.
Okay, and then the last thing, since Brian's in the room, we had a meeting for Central Avenue to talk about traffic calming. I think it might have been raining. It was super cold. There was probably a couple other things going on that night, so we had a very low attendance. We had decided to go back and do some more outreach to the community members that are going to be affected there, because this was like the final meeting as far as what type of mitigations we were going to implement as far as slowing down the traffic on Central. So I'm just wondering if we've gotten around to doing some outreach to the community members out there. And if not, then when can we expect that? Because I'm pretty excited to bring that back to the council. I think it was a very good, well thought out process by planning and by our consultants for planning. And I'm looking forward to continuing that to address other issues throughout the community.
Just so you know, Councilmember Resendez, we are working with Kimley Horn on coming up with a Survey Monkey, in which we'd like to send out to the community, and also talk to you about having one more face-to-face meeting with everyone before we kind of finalize the plans to bring before the council. We're probably gonna have to try to figure out a date that's good for people, and maybe even move it a little bit further into the evening if people get home at 7 o'clock sometime. So that's the next steps is formalizing that Survey Monkey, sending that out, and then having one more last meeting with the community.
Perfect. And then also at that meeting we've been talking about this, the public art aspect. We're looking at doing like some crosswalks that kind of identify or kind of like, bring some type of ownership of the community, of that neighborhood. And I did remember that we put in for a grant, so we had made mention that possibly could be the pilot for the grant. And we wanted to reach out to like the children at Calaveras School to see if they can come up with some general drawings or concepts. That way that community there is coming up with the concepts, and then we could just tie it into the grant and we can pilot it out there off of Central.
Those are great ideas. Yeah, it's the Bloomberg grant was something that we applied for. We received funding, but we need to follow up with them to see what the next steps are in terms of figuring out where the public art's going to go in the community.
So we did receive the grant?
Yeah.
How much is it? Do you know?
It's up to 25,000. I think we had like 20,000, I believe, but I'll double check that.
Perfect.
So.
I don't know if we can talk about this now or put it on the next for another meeting, but I'd like to reach out to the children at Calaveras School to have them come up with some general concepts or drawings that we can implement public art on that side of town.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that it? Thank you. Yesterday we had an incident where we have a issue in our community. 2 residents were confirmed to have the coronavirus, and I want to thank Supervisors Jaime de la Cruz and Mark Medina for calling me as soon as they found out about it. I in turn called our city manager to get more information about what was going on. It's important when these things happen to get factual information to the public. Unfortunately, right away, the rumor mill was going and false information was getting out about what's going on. So I want to make sure the public is clear about what happened. A gentleman in our community visited China, came back. As he came back through San Francisco airport, they did check him to make sure, as they did with all passengers, that he was all right, not showing any symptoms of the virus. He passed through, but as he passed, they gave him a card that said, basically, if you start experiencing any of these symptoms, please call your local health department immediately. The following morning, as he woke up, he did feel some of these symptoms and called our local health department. They immediately went into action. They were working with CDC to make sure how to handle it. They self-isolated, so they did not leave their home from the time they got back from the airport. The wife eventually ended up catching it also. So they never left their home. CDC and our local health department were monitoring their condition constantly to make sure that they were all right and that it did not spread anywhere. So I want to make sure that's clear to the public that they did not go shopping for their groceries or anything else. They never left the house. All that was being brought to them. The conference was last night because that's when it was finally confirmed that it was the coronavirus. Later last night, their condition worsened and they were transported to another facility in the Bay Area that has more specialized equipment. They were transported in a specialized ambulance to make sure, again, this does not spread anywhere. So it's very important for all of us to understand what's going on. The flu, as we know, is making its way through our community. Please be careful. If you are sick, stay home. If your kids are sick, stay home. This is very serious. We need to make sure, again, we're sharing accurate information and we're not just spreading rumors, because something like this, not handled well, can lead to panic. And we just, again, let's work off of facts. The local health department has those facts. They're sharing it with us now and the supervisors to make sure we're all getting this out to the community. So stay with the facts. Please, I'm begging all of you not to share things you're hearing, gossiping or different things out there, because we need facts at this point. Let's pray that their condition improves, and we'll be updating everybody as we get more information. So just want to make sure the community knew what exactly is going on. And I want to thank our city manager for being all over this yesterday. We were going back and forth on the phone, and made sure we did attend the briefing. I want to thank also Enterprise Martial Arts. They did their ribbon cutting on Industrial Parkway, and that's always fun to see. And Councilmember Richmond brought up the Highway 25. So, you know, again, we need facts out there, folks, because I'm hearing people out there now saying, well, if I was in office, this would be done in 2 years. I'd have it done with my own tractors. Let me tell you. Let's start with this basic fact. If that's what they're telling you, they're already lying to you from the gate, out the gate. It's going to take 2 years once we understand where the route's going to be, just to do the environmental study. Just for the study. Then we have to go into purchasing land rights and so on. Another couple of years. Design work, another couple of years. Actual work, a couple of years. We're looking at 6 to 8 years minimum. So if you hear I'll get it done for you in 2 years, call them out, make sure we're not spreading those rumors either. It doesn't help us here. We have to do that right also. Mr. Richmond brought up the Balsa left turn, something we've been working on for 2 years to try to restrict left turns at the Balsa. We're very close to having an agreement now. Caltrans is working with VTA or Santa Clara County to come to an understanding so we can figure out a way to shut that down. So we're making progress, but it takes time. Just stopping a left turn is taking 2 years. Give you an idea of reality. All right, that's all I have. City Manager?
I don't have anything to report, just see if you want me to bring with the general plan coming forward. Do you want us to look at overlay zones, like Mr. Noble brought it forward, like the North Gateway overlay zone? Do you want us to bring those forward, just kind of look at them before we get too far into the general plan to see if they apply and council agrees with them?
You know, I think we want to take their recommendations, what they're looking at, what they're asking for, and start from that, rather than us telling them where to start. Let's hear what they have to say.
It's in my district, and I do want to look at that for some type of exception. So we need to bring it back for discussion.
Okay.
Well, it's an empty lot. We can't discuss it. I do want to discuss it at a next available meeting.
Is that all you have?
Yeah, that's it.
City Attorney?
Thank you. No report, Mr. Mayor.
Chief?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this last Saturday at the animal shelter, they had their first pity party for pit bull adoptions. It was open on Saturday. We had some people there, and adopted 2 of the pit bulls were adopted. There were some wonderful dogs there. They were all would make great pets, and we still have several of them there if anybody's interested, if they missed the event.
Did somebody take that French pit bull? Facebook?
I don't know which one. There was this gray one that was adorable, but I'm not. And speaking about
He's waiting
the-
for you. Go ahead.
Speaking about the animal shelter, our statistics came out for January. We're slightly a little lower than December. Our save rate is at 68% for the month of January. Unfortunately, December, as you know, was 89%. It was a really good month. 89% of the animals that came in left alive, adopted, or rescue. And they're doing a fantastic job trying to reduce the number of animals that are euthanized. But unfortunately, in January, we had a lot of people bringing in feral cats. They capture them and bring them in, and if they're already too old or too feral, there's not much we can do. We're reaching out to the feral cat rescues as well, and seeing if they can take them. Apparently, they're full or they're not responding, but they're doing a great job. It's a lot better than it used to be as far as our save rate. So I just wanted to share that, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. City Clerk?
I don't have any reports.
Okay, thank you. HIJK, there's no business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for staying tonight.
Okay, I'm gonna maybe get to the campground this week. Got one more meeting